Welcome to the Texas High School Football Coaches Show on Lone Star Gridiron. I'm Chris Daly, and it's my belief that the men that make up the fraternity of Texas high school football coaches are much more than a bunch of thick-necked guys with whistles. They do so much more than teach technique and the X's and O's of football. They take young boys and change them into young men of character. They get kids to believe in themselves, to trust others, and to put others ahead of themselves. Texas high school football coaches are unique in how they impact the lives of these athletes as well as the generations those kids touch. In this show, I sit down with a different Texas high school football coach each time and learn about them. Not their record, not their on-field accomplishments, but who they are and what they believe and what it means to be part of the greatest sport in the greatest state. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Lone Star Gridiron Texas High School Football Coaches Show, Season 4, Episode 11. My name is Chris Daly, and today my guest is a coach that's been around the Gulf Coast area, including a stop at my alma mater, Vanderbilt Industrial. It is Coach Mike Treybig from Palacios. I will introduce you to him right after this. Hey, I want to give a big thank you to this season's title sponsor, Mecca Sportswear, where they are all about celebrating achievement. They're honored that so many high schools, colleges, and universities have chosen Mecca's products to represent their institutions. Mecca supplies you with the very best in custom letter jackets, chenille letters, patches, blankets, banners, pins, certificates, and much more to motivate and celebrate achievement in athletics, academics, or the arts. They create high-quality custom awards that will fit your budget. To see why so many great schools around Texas choose Mecca Sportswear, call Sherry Armstrong or Billy Armstrong at 210-651-6592. Mecca Sportswear, the premier suppliers of letter jackets and awards for over 40 years. Hey, I want to introduce you to our newest sponsor. It is 99 Pledges. And if you're looking for a quick and easy way to raise a bunch of money for your sports team, 99 Pledges is the best way for football teams and booster clubs to raise the most money with the least amount of effort. Donors can donate online. Each player gets their own donation page that they can share with their friends and family all over the country, like grandparents in Florida by email, text, Facebook, or any of the social media outlets. By going online with 99 Pledges, it's easy to spread the word about your fundraiser, keep everyone involved and informed. Because of this, 99 Pledges has seen teams raise over $30,000. And teams like the Katy Tigers have exceeded their fundraising goal. That's the best part. Teams keep an average of 95% of what they raise. Players don't have to go door to door or track down donations. They can save all that energy for where it counts, on the gridiron. Check them out at 99pledges.com. They are an excellent organization. You're going to be so glad that your next fundraiser is through these guys. All right, everybody, join me in welcoming Coach Mike Treybig from Palacios to the show. How are you doing, Coach?
Oh, I'm doing great this morning, Chris. How about you?
I'm doing excellent, and I tell you, we might as well get this out of the way. We've got a connection here through Vanderbilt Industrial. You know, myself and co-founder of Gridiron, Mike Wright, we both graduated from there, but it was before your tenure there.
Right. I started I became the AD and head football coach there in 1992 and stayed through 1999.
Nice. Well, in fact, one of the things we do in the show is we cover all your stops. So before we get to that, let me ask you your background in football. Your father was a football coach.
Yes, sir.
He wasn't a UIL coach, so that's why I couldn't find him in our record books because we're UIL. So
right.
Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, well, actually, my dad started in Palacios after he graduated from Texas. Back then, it was Texas A&I in Kingsville. Right. He started in Palacios in '56 and coached through '64.
Oh wow!
And then we left. They left in the spring of '64 with my dad and the head coach Tony Carr, and they both went to straight Jesuit. And then once my dad entered the private schools, he stayed in the private schools until he retired, except for the time period in which, after he retired, he came back and worked with me at Industrial, at Sweeny, and at Palacios as a part-time coach. So he was with me through all my stops too, which was very, very special.
Oh, I bet. You know, you hear a lot of scenarios where a head football coach will bring his son in as an assistant, but you did it the other way around.
Yeah, well, actually, we did it that way too because he gave me my first job.
Nice.
So yeah, that was the first place. After I'd gone to Sam Houston and had played football up there, and then graduated from Sam Houston and went to work for my dad at Marion Christian High School back in the early 1980s, and then stayed there for 7 years, and then from there I went to go work for Dennis Gorka at Stafford. Nice.
And so, did you always know you were going to be a coach?
Yeah, it was like I didn't have a choice. I graduated from college in December, and I got married in July and started working immediately. So, yeah, it was like, okay, you're going to do this, this, and this. But no, I was good with this. I loved football so much. I was fortunate enough to play the game for 13 years.
Nice.
And I knew that the only way that I was going to be able to still be part of the game of football was to be able to coach.
Yeah.
And I knew that my career in football was going to end at Sam Houston State University the first day I went to practice. Yeah, it was. There was a guy who was a lot bigger, a lot faster, and a lot stronger. So I was just fortunate enough to be part of that team, but at the same time, I knew that was going to be the end of my football playing days, so I knew that if I was going to continue, I was going to have to be a coach. So
nice.
It wasn't hard to make that jump.
Nice. And you've mentioned several of the places you've coached, but for those of us who are challenged as far as keeping timelines straight, can you take us stop by stop from your first position up to now?
Okay, I started off I graduated in December of 1980, and then so in January of 1981, that January when we came back from Christmas break, I started at Marion Christian. Marion Christian was a restart of the old Marion High School, where Episcopal is now today in Bel Air. So this is all in Houston, and then so I stayed there for 7 years, and then after that, I went and worked at Stafford for Dennis Gorka for 4 years, and then in 1991, I left Stafford and went to Vleck as a defensive coordinator and worked with Lee Mitchell as the head football coach and athletic director. And then from there, in 1992, in the spring of 92, I was fortunate enough in my early 30s to get my first head football coaching job at Vanderbilt Industrial. So you mean go ahead and continue with the rest of them?
Yeah,
okay, all right. Stayed there for 7. Very fortunate to be part of that community. It's a very special community because it was a community in which I have 3 girls, and all 3 of my girls are teachers, and 2 of them have been coaches. And it's sort of like the first and only home they ever knew because they were young in their influential years of their life. Were there in Vanderbilt. And then in the spring of 99, I got the Sweeny job, and I went to Sweeny. And then I was there for 6 years until the spring of 2005 when I came to Palacios. So it sort of all circled back around to where I was born, which was in Palacios. And in 2005, I stayed there for the next 8 years. So I think it was spring of 2013 is when I retired, set out my year, went back as a rehire for the last 4 years at Industrial. And now I'm at my first year back at Palacios as a rehire.
Nice. So in all that time, you've seen a lot of football, but more importantly, you've seen a lot of kids. What have you seen, about, I guess, the importance of this game in those young lives?
Well, I was very, very, very fortunate to, work for the guys that I work for. And then at the same time, too, be able to do some of the things I, have been able to do and people that I've been able to learn from. Yeah. And, and he was your high school coach, Bobby Nicholson. Yep. And he was the superintendent that gave me my first job. And I think the world of that man, Yeah. And, he was a great, leader for me to help me with my first job. And, and then I was very fortunate just after the fourth year at Industrial in 95, we won the first playoff game at Industrial in 35 years. Yeah. And then I was selected because that's back when Coach Eddie Joseph was the president of the High School Coaches Association, and for some reason I was fortunate enough to get selected to be part of the selection committee for the All-Star team, which I got to spend a week with Coach D.W. Rutledge and his staff. Nice. And then we became friends, and then we would go and visit them and watch them go through their off-season and their boot camp. So, I've tried to always take a little bit from everybody, but I've been fortunate to be around some great men that have been great examples for me. But the main thing is that year I set out, and I had to sit out a year for me to come back as a full-time rehire, was the relationship. The relationship that you have with the kids. Yeah. And I've always said our jobs are so great because each and every day we have a chance to impact the lives of young people that we work with. Now, whether we choose to do it in a positive or a negative way is our choice. But, we need to try to choose the positive ways many times as we possibly can. Definitely.
So, I guess talk about the differences you've seen, because you've been to several different schools. Right. You've seen some that have winning traditions, others that football seems like, I don't know, I don't want to say an afterthought, but they just haven't had the success. What kind of differences do you see there?
Well, all I know is the ones that haven't won before are very appreciative when you do win. we were fortunate the last 5 years I was at Industrial. We went 49-9. Nice. We finished the season. Well, we finished the 1998 season undefeated, 10-0, ranked fourth in the state and Associated Press, and it was the next year in 1990. No, that was 90. Yeah, no, it was 98. As we did that 97, we were undefeated. But in 98, we moved up to 3A and went into the same district with Cuero, Gonzalez, Yoakum, and those guys. And we ended up tying Cuero for the district championship. We went 9-1. And for that reward, we got to play Sealy, who at that time period was a four-time defending state champion. Yeah. And we are the ones that beat them. We beat them and stopped their playoff run. Right. And we beat them in the first round in Lockhart, Texas. So I just know from all the success that we did have that the people at Industrial were very appreciative But at the same time, too, it seems like the more that we won, the more demanding that they became.
Right.
Because they liked it, And then I go to Sweeny, and they're used to winning. And so, it was just a job to maintain or, try to do a little bit better. And we were fortunate enough the first 3 years to have some really good teams and, go 3-4 rounds deep in the playoffs. And then coming back to Palacios and came in 2005, we almost made the playoffs the next year in 2006. We didn't score and jumped off sides when it was 4th and goal on the 1-yard line, and moved us back to 4th and 6 and didn't make it, and Yoakum went instead of us. But the next year we go to the playoffs, which is the first time in 37 years in the history of Palacios since they won the state championship in '64.
Right.
That we went to the playoffs. But not only did we do that, we went 4 rounds deep and played in the state quarterfinals.
Nice.
So, all I know is that for Palacios and the community of Palacios at that time period, to me that was about as big as anybody else winning a state championship, because they had never seen anything like that. Between Cuervo and Palacios, there were 13,000 people at Victoria Memorial Stadium when it only seated 10. So, it was an amazing experience for everybody. So, I guess it was just the appreciation that people had when they haven't been successful. And then if you go to a place like that has been successful and don't maintain that success, you're not going to stay there that long. What do they say that, you lose 50% of your friends each year you're on the job, and then there's only 2 kinds of coaches, the ones that have been fired and the ones that are fixing to be fired. So, there's a reason why people say those things, because those things are true,
Yeah. Nice. So, now looking back, reflecting on your career, what would you say are some of the most important things about coaching for you?
I think it's the effect that we have on the kids that we deal with day in and day out. I've been fortunate to have coached, and I've only coached at small schools, and I've been fortunate enough to coach 3 or 4 guys that have played in the NFL, and they're appreciative. Even they're appreciative, to what we did for them and how we did it. But just being able to try to help to bring some structure and discipline. I don't want to get all philosophy and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes these kids, they're the ones that are making decisions at their home.
Right.
They don't have structure. They don't have the maybe the father figure. They don't have the discipline, and they want it.
Yeah.
They want somebody to tell them what to do. They want somebody to tell them how to act. And, we'll give that to them, and they're very appreciative. I know one of the things I've always done is we always would take time to teach a young man how to introduce himself to somebody, to stand up, look a person in the eye, and shake his hand firmly.
Yep.
And I've had kids come back and tell me that right there has gotten them jobs before. But it's the little things that make up the big things of life. And, if we could just teach them just one little thing that'll help them live their life better, and that makes it all worth it.
Amen. Definitely. So if you're talking to somebody from out of state who is saying, look, I don't get what the big deal is in Texas with football, how do you explain that to them?
Oh, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. And I have firsthand experience because I was working in private schools for 7 years.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't quite understand what the public school experience was. And the first time that I had my eye-opening moment, it wasn't in football. It was in track. Mm-hmm. I'd gone to the state track meet while I was still working at Marion Christian, and I think my mouth never actually got off the ground, because I was just in complete awe by the entire event. And I said, this is what I want to be part of.
Yeah.
And I want to be part of anything that's associated with this. And it's just an experience that you'd have to be able to see. I'd tell them to go to the state championship football, spend one day, spend half a day.
Yeah.
The amount of emphasis or importance that is given, the fact that we're still allowed to have athletics when many states do not, just everything that we're allowed to do in Texas, the number of coaches that we have on coaching staffs that are full-time employees, because most of these other states don't even have full-time employed coaches. Most of them are volunteer coaches, so, for them to understand that, and I've known a lot of very good coaches, don't get me wrong, that have come from Louisiana, Nebraska, and different parts of the United States that have come to Texas, and, they're just in awe, about the way that we are allowed to conduct ourselves. And I think it's because of the great leaders that we have, within the Texas High School Coaches Association that make sure that our programs are allowed to continue to do these things and stay on the forefront of not just what's going on, but also the legislative end, that whenever they try to change things. So, we're very, very fortunate.
Definitely. So Coach, you're the winningest coach in Industrial Cobra's history, and I believe the winningest coach in Palacios Sharks history too.
Actually, I'm third.
Are you third?
I'm third.
You were first. All right.
No, I was third. I've actually got the records from all the guys. There was during the late 1950s. People don't want to believe this, but in the late 1950s, early 60s, Palacios was going to the playoffs every year.
Wow.
They had played for the state semifinals several times, state quarterfinals. So there are some coaches back from that era, that have more victories because they were winning a bunch more. But I think I'm third. I think the way I figured it up.
Nice. So, but moving forward, what do you have left as bucket list items as a coach?
Well, always you want to be able to win a state championship. I mean, that's obviously. But I learned a long time ago, there are very few coaches that are fortunate enough to do it once. And then it amazes me when you got, Coach Thompson over at West Orange, Starks, Mills, all these other guys, that have won it multiple times and played for it. Scott Surratt at Carthage, those guys are just like, golly, how do you do that year after year after year? And it takes a special group of kids. It takes special coaches, and not just the head coach, but the entire staff. So,
and community.
Absolutely, that is willing to continue to give that commitment. But as far as that goes, the way I look at it is that I've been blessed. I'm also on the state board of directors for 7-on-7, so I get to do, that stuff, throughout the spring and summer. So, just to stay active in some phase of football. I don't know if there's a whole lot more that I'm going to be able, to do in the years that I have left. But, I would just say if I could just change one more kid or help one more kid, become a better man, a better father, a better husband, I think that would make me really happy.
Amen. Coach Mike Treybig, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me a little bit, and hopefully I'll catch up with you again at 7-on-7 or coaching school or something.
All right, Chris. Well, don't be a stranger. It was great talking to you, and I appreciate the opportunity that you've given me today.
Rocket Man, the story of D.W. Rutledge and the Judson High School football dynasty, is a must-read. It provides complete coverage of every game coached by Rutledge, but more importantly, tells the stories of the impact he has had on the tens of thousands of students, parents, coaches, administrators, and fans. Dr. Charles Breithaupt and Chris Daly, both well-known in the Texas high school football community, joined forces to tell this much-needed and inspiring tale. Get your copy now at rocketmanbook.com.
This show is brought to you by the book, All I Need to Know I Learned from My Texas High School Football Coach, a handbook of wisdom for parents, young people, and yes, even coaches. Head over to www.learnedfromcoach.com and order your copy to support sharing the stories of these great coaches and leaders. That's learnedfromcoach.com.
Once again, I want to thank Coach Mike Treybig for sitting down and talking with me. And do me a favor, go out, support these sponsors, because as I say every week, they are the reason that I am able to bring you this show each and every week. Until next time, we'll see you at the game.